All right, it's that time of the year again. Got to get the bikes ready for the season. My 2007 R1. Just got to do some maintenance on it, flush the brake fluid, change the oil, put some water wetter in it. And then I don't have the tires yet, but I got to put new slicks on this bike and the spare wheels I have. And then my 2020, I just need to do pretty much oil change, check tire pressure, and I will probably flush the brake fluid out on that one also. So I figured I would kind of just film the process on how to do it, maybe do some, give you guys some tips and tricks on how to, I don't know, perform maintenance on your bikes. So we'll see if I can stay motivated and film all this, but I don't know, check it out. All right, I'm gonna start with the 07 R1. I'm going to put some water in the radiator and mix some water wetter in there. I'm not gonna bleed it yet, but I am gonna start the bike for a little bit to get the oil warmed up. All right, that's just gonna sit there. Get the oil warmed up so it's easier to, makes changing the oil a little easier when it's thinner, drains a little better. And then after I complete the oil change, I'll let it run for a little bit, try to burp all the air out of the cooling system. And then I will flush the brake fluid out. Put some new brake fluid in here. And then, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of coolant, a little bit of water in here. Using just distilled water. You want to fill it up pretty slow because it will overflow and pour out everywhere and make a mess. So put a little bit of that in there. You're going to grab some water wetter right here. Some water wetter. All right, this has 1 ounce, which is 3 to 4 capfuls per quart. So this holds about 2 to 3 quarts for the cooling system. So I'm going to add about 8 capfuls to the cooling system. I filled a little bit of water. I'm going to put this in the middle just so it kind of mixes up as I do all of this. But once the bike is running and stuff like that, it'll mix up around and doesn't have to be perfect. I'm sure you can kind of just add a little bit. Like I barely used any, and it'll be fine. But I'm gonna put some more water in here until it kind of is pouring out. Possible to turn this around? Probably not. All right, so you probably can't see, but you got water to the top. It's gonna go down once the cooling system is bleeding out. All right, so now I'm gonna start the bike just to get it a little warm. I'm not bleeding the cooling yet. I'm just getting the bike warm so I can change the oil, and then I'll top off the coolant and everything before or when I go to bleed it out. So we'll see if this thing will start. Gotta take the butt plugs out, that'll probably help. just go until the coolant temp pops up on the display, and then just that way I know it's a little warm. It's reading a temperature, because when it's cold it just has bars on there, so I just want to get a little bit of heat in the oil, have it circulate around, it'll help it drain. So now I'm gonna lift the bike up a little more and drain the oil. So here we go. All right, ready to rock and roll. So I use PSR brand oil drain plug and fill cap, just because they're already pre-drilled for using safety wire, because you need that at the track. I'll show you that here. Okay, so for the track, you need to safety wire everything. So just to ensure that it's not going to come loose. So the oil filter safety wired with a hose clamp around it to this little bracket, and then same thing for the drain plug. The OEM drain plug, I believe, is just a 14 millimeter socket or a wrench. You can get that in there, but these PSR ones are real nice because they are already drilled, and they come with this little safety wire and the quick clip, so you don't have to recut it and twist the wire and stuff like that. So this is a 17 millimeter. I'm gonna pull that out and get this drain plug going, or this oil change going. All right, before you start draining the oil, it's a good idea to remove the fill plug, so that way there's just air flowing through the case and it makes the oil drain easier. This is just safety wire. You want the fill plug safety wired also, so that doesn't fly off randomly at the track. I have a PSR cam chain tensioner. I just have it safety wired so that can't back out and cause some damage to my engine. So that's removed. Yeah, so now we're ready to drain the oil. All right. Gotta remove this one. It's probably a lot, not a 17 mil. Maybe the factory is 17 mil, and then this PSR I think is a 14. So I'm already lying. Yeah, 14 mil. All right. Crack this baby loose. Before I pull it out, I just want to make sure that that copper washer comes off with it, because I don't want it to fall in the oil drain and to fish it out. So just keep push it up as you're unthreading, and then once you think it's all the way out, just pull it. And then these are nice also. They have a magnet on there. So I wipe it clean. It has a magnet in the drain plug, so you can see that's a magnet. Catches just like a lot of these like sport bikes are wet clutch, so like clutch material and stuff, they get stuck to this instead of getting circulated through the engine, which is nice. But oil looks pretty clean. I do take really good care of this bike, so I'm gonna change the oil and the filter. On this bike, I usually change the oil like, I don't know, kind of depends on the weather. If it's super hot out, I'll do it like maybe every 2 track days, but every like 2 or 3 track days, I'll change just the oil once I know there's a new filter on it. Since you're changing the oil more frequently, you don't need to change the filter that much, because it's clean oil. Oil is just breaking down, so you don't have to change the filter every time if you don't want to. But on like a street bike where you're riding it all the time and you don't change, like, I mean, if I do 2-3 track days, and that could be within a month, so I'm changing the oil pretty frequent. Where on a street bike, you might wait like 3 months or so. The 2020, I changed the filter every time I changed the oil, so Just it's just what I do. I mean, you could do whatever you want. As long as you change the oil frequently and it doesn't come out black every time, I'd say you're doing a pretty good job with your maintenance. But another thing with these PSR plugs, these come with a copper crush washer. The OEM ones come with a crush washer, and I would recommend replacing the crush washer style drain plug gasket. I mean, you can get away with reusing it maybe like once, but you know, if you keep using the same crush washer over and over again, and you keep tightening it a little more and more, eventually you're gonna strip out the threads in the pan, and you're either gonna have to put a helicoil on it, or you know, drill and retap it, use a bigger drain plug. Just a headache. So this is the copper one. It's not a crush washer, so you don't have to replace it. But also, don't just crank it down as hard as you can. You don't need to do that. As long as it's, you know, seats, and then just give it a little more, it'll be fine. But yeah, this is done draining, looks like. Let me throw this back in here. I'm not super picky with it, you know, till it stops dripping. I change the oil often, so there's clean oil always in this bike. Not a huge deal. Okay. I'll clean that after I'm done with everything. So, snug, just a little more, and it's tight. I like to make sure I tighten the bolts as soon as I put them in, so that way I don't forget about it. So as long as you do that, it's tight. I put the safety clip back on. It's done. I'll clean it afterwards. Now let's get this filter off. There's not really a way to safety wire a hose or a oil filter without using a hose clamp. So you just put the hose clamp on there. You don't crank it down on the thing. You don't want to collapse the filter, but you, yeah, just put that on there, tighten it. That way it can't back off.
Usually I would take, I got some cardboard here, I'll just put it. We'll use this to cover the header so it'll be covered in oil. You don't have to do that. Just makes it a little less nice, a little less to clean. So now.
Nice thing about, I'm a big Yamaha guy, Toyota guy. Yamaha and Toyota use the same, oil filters are the same size. So this is like a Toyota little oil filter cup. Same exact size for Yamaha. Stick that on there. Put this on here so just a little less to clean up for me. Move the oil over here. Just get it loose. Once you could do it by hand, just take this off of there. Okay, let's try to get this up out of the way. And now you just unthread it. The oil still looks clean. Sure, this filter is perfectly fine, but I just like to replace everything new. It's a little peace of mind. So. Yeah, this filter is probably perfectly fine. I don't remember when I changed it, but better safe than sorry, so just change it. Okay, let me go get the new filter. All right, this off of you. These Yamaha OEM filters, that's another thing for the Trek 2. They recommend using OEM filters. The K&N filters that have the little like socket or hex on here that's tack welded on, I guess those blow out from the welds, so they don't want you using aftermarket, and you can't go wrong with OEM. You know, if it's comes from the factory, you know it's working good. So these come pre-lubed, but never hurt to, you know, put a little bit more oil on there. Nothing worse than trying to change your oil and you can't get the oil filter off. So a little bit on there. Just make sure that the old gasket didn't stick to the housing. Get a little wipe down. Nice and clean. This is lubed. And just go ahead and thread her back on. If you don't want your oil filter to be permanently stuck on your engine, just tighten it by hand. As tight as you can go by hand. Unless you're the Hulk. So we'll save this cardboard for the other bike too. So yeah, just tight as you can go by hand. As long as the O-ring is clean and lubed, it's not going to fold or come off or tear. It's good to go. So this is as tight as I can get it with my hand. So it's tight. And then just another safety measure. I do this on my my street bike too, for peace of mind, and it's just good habit, I guess. A little bit overkill, but better to get this done, do it the right way, than be the one that ruins everyone else's track day by leaking oil everywhere. So, oil filter's on, drain plug is tight. I'll clean this. I guess I could do it now.
I don't know if I have anything.
Fucking neighbors, dude. Gotta get out of here. Gotta move to the country. If I can get this off. This is my first time filming something like this, so if I edit all this and I feel like I look like a huge dork, I'm not gonna upload it. But we'll see. Just put this on here. I hope that's not too loud. But anyway, a little brake clean or carb clean will be fine. Oh, right in the fucking eye. Awesome. Man, do I miss bike work. Alright, yeah, just clean it up a little bit. It'll evaporate or dissolve or whatever. And then once the bike gets hot, it'll really dry it out. So, alright, that's done. Now, all we gotta do is put some oil in it. And the oil change will be complete. So, let's go back to the other side of the bike. Fill it up. Alright, the one thing that's a pain in the ass with this bike is filling it with oil, because as you can see, the fill plug is like kind of on the side. I don't know why they did it like that. It would have been nice if they made it a little higher, but I find it easiest to just use kind of like a thin little funnel and kind of hold it up there. I need to use two hands, so I can't really show you, so I'm going to put you back over here. Gonna add just a little bit more oil, because the oil level will drop once it circulates through, and you gotta remember, if you change the filter's dry, there's no oil in it, so it's gonna drop quite a bit. Okay, so oil is full, put about 3 quarts in it. Just gonna put this in here when I start it, so oil doesn't go everywhere. Filter is tight, drain plug is tight. Just gonna start it real quick, get the oil circulated around. coolant gets hot, it's gonna expand, so that's why it's dripping a little bit, but we're gonna shut that off, let it sit for a minute. We're gonna recheck this oil level. You wanna check the oil level when it's warm and off. You don't wanna check it when it's running. So as it'll sit, oil level will go up. You can see we got a line there and there. I try to get it close to that when it's warm, just that way I know that it's good. But we're gonna let that sit for a minute. You can see it's slowly going up. I'll probably just add a tiny bit more, and then the oil change will be good. Oil level's good. I'm gonna put this cap back on. I'm not too worried about making a mess right now, because once I get all the maintenance done and put the fairings back on, both bikes are gonna get a bath. So I'm not too worried about getting oil everywhere, because I'm gonna wash it. So that's on there, safety wire. This is one of the bolts for the fairings. And then, yeah, this wire just goes to the cam chain tensioner so that doesn't spin. So that's on there. Drain plug's tight, oil filter's tight, no leaks. Oil change is complete. So now we're gonna work onto the cooling system. All right, clean the funnel out. We're gonna add a little bit of water, a little more water into the radiator.
Just add a little bit so it pours out. Just like that.
So they make a tool where you can put the cooling system under a vacuum and kind of just suck the coolant in so it fills all the passages and stuff like that. I don't have that tool, so just gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. So I am going to fill this coolant reservoir up with some water, probably a little higher than full. Put the radiator cap back on, and then just let it run for a while. Let it do a couple heat cycles, and any air gaps that are in it will kind of burp itself out, and it'll take the water that's in the reservoir and fill those gaps. So, all right, coolant reservoir is cleaned out. Going to add some distilled water into it. I'm gonna fill it above the full line because I know when the cooling system burps itself out, it's gonna take fluid from the reservoir.
And yeah. Alright, so it's above the full line, as you can see, above the full line. After it goes through a couple heat cycles, it'll kind of burp itself out.
So make sure that this rubber cap is fully seated on there, so it's not going to pull any air. It's just going to pull the water in. So just going to kind of let's get these started. I'm not going to tighten these down yet.
So that's on there. It's radiator cap.
Radiator cap on here. Make sure it's all the way on. Okay. So now, start the bike. Let it run for a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna let that run for a minute. Let it get hot, make sure the fans kick on, everything's good to go. That wise, everything should be good. Oh, that's too loud. Fans kick on at 212, so I'm gonna let it get hot, the fans kick on. I'll shut the key off, let it cool down by itself. Probably do that 2 or 3 times. I'm gonna take it for a spin around the block before I do a track day, just to make sure everything's good. But yeah, this is the way that I leave the cooling system. I don't have any fancy tools, nor do I want to buy any, because I don't do it that often. But that's gonna get hot, let the fans kick on, let it cool down. When it's cooling down, I'm gonna bleed or flush the brakes out, put some new brake fluid in it, so that's good to go. And then I'll put the fairings on, pull that bike out, put the 20 on the lift, change the oil, flush the brakes, and then I'm gonna give them a bath. So here we go. I'm gonna rub the bike a little bit so that the water pump circulates the coolant a little faster, kind of help get some of the air out. And then it also kind of helps get the bike to heat up a little bit faster. Sick. Now you can see the radiator fans are off. It's getting up there. I believe they kick on at 212, so I just want to make sure those kick on. And then I'll shut it off. You can see this brake fluid's pretty dirty. It kicks on a little sooner. See they're on. That's just some tape for the wiring harness, but kicked on at 208. Both sides, so that's good. Shut that off. All the loose nuts and bolts are just falling off from the vibrations, but yeah. All right, this is what I use to flush and bleed the brakes out anytime you need to do something with the brakes. If it's replacing brake line or whatever, car, bike, whatever. I think on Amazon for like 50 bucks. Just a little handheld vacuum pump. They make pneumatic ones, but this one's cheap and it gets the job done. So this is just what I use. I'll show you how it works. All right, so you got the gun. You want to grab a hose. The hose on here. Sick. Hose is on there. You have a bottle. This on here, it's labeled. I don't know if you can see it. This one says 2 pump. Probably can't see it. 2 pump at the bottom. So this is the hose you connect to that side. Okay. Take your other hose, put it on here, and they got these little fittings. So just one of these. Stick it on here, and then you got these little boots. Put that on there, and this will go over the bleeder on the calipers and the master. So, okay, gun set up. The boot's gonna go on the bleeder. So here, there's one at the master, and then the other caliper. So what I like to do first is I'll take this lid off. Put some fluid in there, kind of top it off, and then I'll crack this loose, put the boot on there, and then just start pumping the fluid through until I see the new fluid coming out of here. And then when you're doing that, do not touch the front brake at all. You'll introduce air to the system, and then as the fluid level is dropping in here, you just want to keep topping it off. You don't want it to drop too low, because then you're gonna add air to the system. So you're just gonna be running around in circles if you do that. So crack this loose, put this on here, do not touch the front brake, and just pump it and keep adding fluid until it comes out clear. We're gonna do that on both sides, and then once both sides are done, I will do the same thing up here. You probably don't need to do that, but I just like to do it anyway, just for peace of mind. And then the brake fluid flush will be done. So here we go. Okay, so loosen the screws out of the cap. So be careful pulling this out. You're gonna be very careful when you're using brake fluid. You don't want to spill it on anything. It'll eat paint. So yeah, if you get it on paint, you want to clean it off as quick as you can, because it'll destroy your paint. So now I got some Modal 600 .4 brake fluid. You don't need to use this kind, but people say this stuff's really good. As long as it's .4, for a motorcycle, it'll be fine. Man, they really got these things on there, huh? Okay. And another thing is I have a bunch of brake fluid sitting around, but I always just tend to buy a new bottle because it's like 20 bucks. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, so it absorbs water. So if you just have a bottle and you leave it open, you don't ever cap it or anything like that, it absorbs moisture. So, and you don't want that in your brake fluid, because if you have water in there, water's got a lower boiling point, and you know, you get these brakes nice and hot, it starts to boil, and then you're gonna lose front brakes. So you don't want to do that. So I tend to just buy a new bottle every time for peace of mind. You can store brake fluid. I think they say you want to store it in a metal container. A sealed metal container is the best way to store it, but I don't have one of those, so by the time I'm done with both my bikes, you know, I'll need another one anyway. So here we go. We're gonna just be careful. We're gonna add some brake fluid in here. Should probably lower the lift a little bit, but
Put some up there.
I'm gonna crack this bleeder loose. It's crack loose. Put the boot on, and just start pumping.
You can do that, but I'll bring the camera closer in a second. I don't know if you can see the brake fluid dropping in the reservoir. I'll get you guys a little closer.
What's going on here? So, can't really do it with two hands. Let's set you down here. Let me top it off a little bit, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So, feel myself spill it. So we're gonna add some. It's kind of at a goofy angle, but so do that. Let me set you down. Fluid's getting a little high. I'm just gonna dump this real quick. So screw this.
Pretty clean coming out. Just about at the bottom of the reservoir. So let me do that. I'm just gonna close this now.
See the fluids? Looks cleaner.
The clean fluid through. You kind of suck all the fluid that's just sitting on the bleeder out. Okay. Okay, that's on there. Bleeder's tight. Put the cap back on. You just spray it with brake cleaner real quick. Where I put it. Okay. Maintenance is done. I don't mind doing maintenance on the bike, but it can be a pain. Alright.
So I'm going to fill the reservoir back up to the top, and I'll show you how that I should still have a brake. So it's gonna be one continuous video. I'm gonna hold my charger. So make sure that it doesn't overflow when I pull this in. But yeah, see, still have a brake. It's not going to the grip. See? That's how you flush it.
I'm just gonna crack this open with the boot attached, and I'm going to pump this, hold it, crack it, flush the fluid out, and then seal it, and then that'll be done. And then double check the coolant. And yeah, so let me set you guys up over here. Good, cool. Still need to RCS Corsa Quarter 19 on here, so I believe it's flat. Where's it outlet? Where's it? So, Corsa Quarter RCS 19, 11 mil. There's bleeder. So, I have the cap off, dripping right everywhere. Let's just suck this. Okay, so I'm not going to use the gun, I'm just sucking this up so I don't spill brake fluid all over or spray everywhere. So, that's on. What I'm going to do is pump the lever, hold it, put some pressure on it, then open the bleeder so it comes down. Keep holding it, don't let go. Tie it back up, make sure it's tight, and you pump it up again. Do the same thing, hold it. Yeah, cool. So it touches the bottoms out, hold it, tighten it. Same thing, hold it, turn it loose. Okay, so brake. Let's leave this on here. I'm just gonna suck all the fluid that is in this hose to the bottle. And that's done. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do it one more time. So,
Just an old tip. So, brake fluid reservoir has, a full and a minimum mark on it, max min. I don't know if you can see that. So right now it's pretty high up. I kind of like to have the fluid a little lower in case the fluid does get real hot. And, when the fluid gets hot, it's going to expand. So what could happen if the fluid level is high and then it gets hot? It could apply the brake, which I don't know if that I'm wording that correctly, but the fluid has nowhere to go. If it's to the max and it gets hot and it expands, it can't come out the top. There's not a breather. It's a closed system. The only way it's going to go is it's going to push the pads. It's going to go down to the caliper. It could be applying the brake. So I like to just lower the fluid level a little bit in case it does get real hot and expand. It's not going to, apply the brake when I don't want it to.
So for this, I'm just going to crack this open. I'm not going to hook the brake or lever. I'm going to crack this master open, and I'm just going to suck some fluid out until the brake fluid level is to where I want it. So, let me, no room in here, Ukes. Yeah, you see it coming down. And that's good. So I'll just go where I'm at. Release the pressure. Snug that up.
All right, oil change is done. We got coolant in it. Flush the brake fluid. I don't have tires yet, so once that comes, I'll film me using my tire changer, putting those on, mounting and balance. So now I'm just gonna double check that everything is tight, and then put the fairings back on and make it look like a bike again. So here we go. All right, so it's a bit of a pain to get these fairings on, so I'm just gonna time lapse it. All right, got the upper part on. Starting to look like a bike again. Just got to put the belly pan on and put the seat on, and then I'll wheel this thing out of here. See what it looks like in one piece. All right, and that is what she is supposed to look like, all in one piece. 2007 Yamaha R1 with track fairings. Belly pan wasn't too bad to put on. I'll have to take it off after I wash it, just to get all the water out of it. But yeah, just want to give it a bath. Give the 20 the bath once I'm done doing maintenance on that. But All right, one bike down, one to go. One thing I forgot to mention, and you might be thinking, hey, you didn't leave the rear brake. I still have the rear brake on here, but I honestly don't use it at all. So I flushed the fluid beginning of last season, and it still looks really clear because it hasn't gotten hot because it's never been used. So that's why I didn't do the rear, but on to the next bike. All right, got the 2020 up on the lift. I'm just gonna film me changing the oil on this. It's a little different, not much different. It's an R1, they kept everything mostly the same. I don't know what I'm saying. But I'm not gonna film flushing the brakes on this one because it's the same thing as the other one. But yeah, so here we go. Also do need to put a new battery in this bike because you'll probably hear how bad this thing cranks. All right, on this bike, the steps for changing the oil are the same. The only thing different really is the oil filter is mounted sideways in the front by the headers, and the drain plug is in the center of the two headers. The only thing that's pretty weird about the 20R1 is they, for some reason, decided to put the oil level on the opposite side where you fill it. So that's the only thing that's kind of annoying about changing the oil on this, but other than that, everything's the same, so we'll get right into it. All I have to do is take this thing off. This little exhaust heat shield that I wrapped carbon because I was planning on getting a belly pan for this, but they're stupid expensive, so I wrapped it. When I wrapped it, it looked good, but now it just kind of looks like hot garbage because of the heat. But it's pretty much all I got to take off. Take that off. You need to grab a different size Allen. Nice thing about Yamahas too is, besides like the this exhaust heat shield, all the fairing bolts are all quick turn because Yamaha knows what they're doing. So pretty much all you need to do is take that. I'll probably take this one off too. I'm not gonna take the whole side off because you don't need to, but these out of the way. You just need to be able to pull this out of the way to get this oil filter out. So take the fill plug or the fill cap off the other side, and we'll just start to draining. And then, yeah. On this bike, I don't have that quick clip, so I'm gonna cut this safety wire, and then I'll also show you how to safety wire something if you ever need to do that. All right. Okay. Boom. Here we go. Boom. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Just grab it. Pull it out. You just safety wire so you know that once it's tight that it's not going to back off somehow, some way. And then you don't blow your engine up when all the oil comes out. So just a little safety precaution. You will have to do that if you decide to ride the track. If you ride it above the novice class, but you could always, I think they say you could use like silicone and just, you know, put a dab across, and it'll kind of help it from spinning, but it's not hard to safety wire and it's pretty cheap. So I'll show you how to do that once I get to that point.
Now, stand way up. Now you loose, your hand in there. Just push up and spin it out. Once you think it's out, and just fire it.
I'll try to show you, see this has the magnet on it. If it'll adjust, but you can see it's black. That's just like clutch material. Because they have a wet clutch, wipe it off, and now it's clean. So, pretty nice. Some manufacturers have a magnet already on the OEM drain plug. I don't think Yamaha might, I don't know, I can't remember. But I just like buying these PSR ones because they already have the holes drilled. And
Oh, it is nice, so don't have to do it. But it is a nice little upgrade, I guess. That drain. Okay, like I said, I changed the oil often on both on my bikes, so I'm not gonna sit here and wait for this to stop dripping because it doesn't matter. Okay, tighten it up so I don't forget. Tighten. So all snug. You're good to go. Now, next, you do the filter. Right.
Front. A little easier to do. I think it's better to do it sideways. So if you pull it out versus trying to fish it out of the headers. I think R6s have it like right under the front sprocket, which is kind of a pain when if you bought the bike off somebody that you don't know or something, or you know, some dealerships or places that work on bikes, they crank it down, and when the oil filter is in this little pocket, it's really hard to get out. I had an R6 and I actually had an R6 that I bought from a dealership. I don't think they changed the oil, but this filter cup, I had to drill these holes in there, and I put it on, I like this, it was just slipping. This thing's like real thin steel, and it would just spin. You know, the filter was way too tight. So I drilled these holes, and then I put self-tapping screws into there, because since the filter's like, I don't have an R6, but to show you, but it's like tucked in there. You can't, people do like the screwdriver method, they jam it in there and twist it out. There's no room. You have to use a filter cup. So if you have a R6 and you can't get the filter off, if you can find, I think I bought this at Advanced Auto. Buy one of these, drill some holes in it, get some self-tapping screws, put it in there, get the screws in there, and it hopefully should come off for you. But that's why it's best if you just learn how to change your own oil or do your own maintenance. You don't have to worry about somebody else screwing it up. So okay, that's all you need to do. You don't need to put this back on there, crank it down. Because if you do, you're gonna find out the hard way that you shouldn't do that. So that is done. Okay, got some oil in it. See, the oil level is where it should be. We're gonna start it up, let it run, check for leaks, and then top it off because the oil level will drop. All right, oil level looks good. Drain plug is tight. Oil filter's tight, no leaks. I put the oil fill cap back on. That's good. I don't know if I mentioned, I like just using full synthetic Yama lube. So that's what I put in my bikes. Now I will show you how to safety wire. So let me get a safety wire. This is what I use. I bought it on Amazon. Safety lock wire. Size is it? It's 0.025 or 0.644 millimeters, and I will show you how I do it. All right, gonna be kind of hard to film this. I don't have a tripod, but get yourself some safety wire. This is a PSR oil fill cap. It's got holes in it. Put the safety wire through a hole. Let's see if I can get it to show you what I'm doing. So you put it through the hole, right? We're going from this hole to this little hole in this case saver. So thread it through. I just do a quick measurement of how far away it is from that hole. So mark it, take these safety wire pliers. Man, I really need so mark how far it is to the hole. You don't need these pliers, but it does make it a whole lot easier. Grab it where you marked it, squeeze, slide it down. Now it's locked. And all you do, hold this end, and you just pull it a couple times, like that. Squeeze it to unlock it. Now it looks like that. So that's just the distance it is to this hole, roughly. And then you want to take an end, take one part of the wire, fish it through the hole, and then just grab it, twist it, cut it. I'll show you what it looks like in a second when it's done. Pretty simple.
It's really much fun as well. So, end it. Fish it on through. Pliers. Grab the wire. Pull it through so it's tight. Same thing doesn't matter. This is the end of it. So you just grab it, wrap it. Twist it a couple times. And then we got it. If it snips. I'm gonna do it though. That's the bomb. Grab it, cut it, just fold it up out of the way, fold it back towards this thing. So this one looks like.
So you want, sorry, I'm trying to film this. You want this part, the first part from the first hole to that hole, to be tight. You don't, the whole point is so this doesn't spin. And then just same thing. Fish it through, hook them together, twist it. And that's pretty much it. And I'll do the same thing for the drain plug. It's pretty simple. So, back over here. Okay, flip the camera around so I can see what I'm doing. So you can see, fish through the bolt, fish it up and over the pipe. It's twisted. All right, up and over to the hole. It kind of looks sloppy, but whatever. Drilled the hole in that little bracket, put one end through, bring them together, twist it, and then now you know that's not gonna loosen up on its own. And that's pretty much it. All right, got the bike button back up. It's ready to go. I'm gonna give him a bath. If this video gets 100,000 likes, I'll ghost ride Ken's bike into Lake Erie. Just doing a little bit of cleaning. I don't usually take a power washer to them, but they're covered in dust and bugs from last season, so give it one really good wash. Little detail. See how they look when they're done. I don't know, whatever.